a spider. Go away. Go away. You weren't invited to this video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Tegan. Today we're doing another DIY and it's going to be a plant stand. So let's just hop right into it. Aiden wants to come say hi. Hello. Say hi. You're so cute. You smell like a dog. So first off, you're going to need a piece of pine wood. This is just 1.8 meters. It's 42 by 19 millimeters. I just picked this up at Bunnings. Yeah, you can just grab one at your local hardware store, and yeah, that's all you really need. You need that, and you need some angle brackets that we're going to be using to secure from underneath so you can't actually see where it's being held together. These angle brackets I also got at Bunnings. They come with a bunch of screws as well, so if yours don't come with screws, remember to pick up some screws as well. That's what they look like. So for tools, what you're going to need is a saw just to cut down your piece of wood. You're also going to need a screwdriver, just a Phillips head screwdriver for the screws for the brackets. And just general things like a ruler to rule straight lines, a pencil, and then later on we're going to be using this stain and varnish, which I also got from Bunnings, and just an old paintbrush that you don't care if it gets ruined because the varnish doesn't really come out of it, I don't think, but we'll be doing that later on. You'll also need just a piece of sandpaper just to neaten up any edges so there's not any splinters or anything. And of course you'll need a pot. This is from Adair's. It's just a nice decent sized pot. I like that it has straight edges so that when it's actually sitting in the stand it'll be quite flush next to it. You can use any sort of colour or shape or whatever you want. And lastly, just some measuring tape, because we're going to need to measure our pot to make sure that the stand fits it exactly. So first up, we're going to measure the bottom of our pot. Now you want to leave a little bit of leeway. I'm just going to leave a few millimeters either side. So my pot is 21 centimeters in diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that out on the piece of wood. Now you're going to need 2 of this length because it's going to cross over in the middle. So I'll measure out a little bit more. And just using my ruler, I'm going to rule a straight line across just to help with cutting it nice and neatly. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and saw off where you've drawn those lines. Alright, so now that we've got our 2 pieces, I'm just going to give them a light sand just at the ends, just to get rid of any loose little bits. Try to avoid sanding the actual piece of wood because it can scratch and damage it, and it'll be noticeable when we varnish it. So the next step is we're going to cut a notch halfway through each of these pieces just so that they can fit snugly together and lay flat to act as a base for the plant stand. So using my ruler, I'm just going to put it up against the piece of wood and find the middle point. So half of 21 is 10 and a half. Now we want to make sure that the notch is the same thickness as the piece of wood. So I'll measure that. It's about 2 centimeters. So that means our notch has to be 2 centimeters. So you want to take your notch halfway through each piece so they can fit together like a puzzle. It doesn't have to be exact, but just as an idea, this is what it should look like. So that is the chunk that we will be cutting out. So go ahead and saw that notch out of both pieces once you've drawn them on. To do this, you can do it by cutting lots of little cuts straight downwards with the saw, making sure you're not going past the halfway point. And then once you've done enough cuts, they should be easy enough to sort of wiggle out. So here you can sort of see what I mean. I've made 2 cuts down here. Now because we can't, of course, saw across here, I'm going to cut a few more lines straight down. Most pieces will come straight out just when you're sawing them, and we'll neaten it up later, so don't worry about it. So I've just kept sawing it down a little bit. You can see all the lines of where I made the cuts, and it's all just sort of fallen out nicely. So I'm just going to give this a sand now. So now we've finished sawing both of the notches. Now they should fit together quite well. Preferably you want them to fit quite snug, but if they don't worry about it. You mostly are worried about whether or not it sits flush, that they sit flush with one another. So you should have something that looks like this. So now that our middle piece is done, we're going to work on the sides of the plant stand. We're going to use all of this. So all I'm going to do is cut this into 4 even lengths. So I have about 141 centimeters left of this. So I'm going to measure out 4 lengths of 35 and a bit centimeters. So doing the same as before, I'm going to just rule a straight line across it, just because it's easier to follow when I'm sawing it. So now you know what time it is. It's time to saw these up. Now we have our 4 pieces, just going to sand off the edges. Now we've got our centre bit done, and we've got our 4 lengths of wood. So next up we're going to figure out how high we want this pot to be sitting in the stand. So you can have it sitting anywhere really. You can have it, if you want it to be taller, you would sit this bit up higher. If you want more of the pot showing, you can have it down low, or you can have it up high. It's definitely up to you, or you can do it level. This part you can definitely customize to whatever you want it to look like. I think I'm going to sit mine probably around this height. So based off what height you want it to be sitting at, I'm just going to sort of put my finger at where I want it to sit at the bottom. Now I'm just going to make a little pencil mark. Now I'm going to figure out which of these I want to be the top side, because you'll see more of it. Because some of them I've cut a little bit more rough than others. So of course you want to put the bits that you don't like, the little chip corners or whatever, you want to put them on the inside, down the bottom. I'm actually going to lie them flat because that is where we're going to be placing the brackets for this, and you want to make sure that they're all level from the bottom, since that is where it's going to be sitting from. So don't worry if the top is a little bit off, it won't be as noticeable once it's all put together. So based off the mark that I have here on the side, I'm just going to make a mark and continue that across and draw a straight line. So now that line is going to be where the top of this meets when we put the brackets on. So putting the crisscross bit on the line, I'm just going to draw a little line underneath it too, because that is where the bracket itself is going to sit. So now I've got my 4 brackets. I'm just going to align them all up. So this is sort of what it will look like, the placement of it. This is the first line that we drew, that is where the bottom of the pot will sit. This space here will be the crisscross support thing. And now this is the second line I have drawn that will fall beneath the crisscross bit. And this is where we will screw the bracket on. As you can see, the brackets have 4 places to put screws in, so that's great because it'll screw into the vertical post on this side, and from underneath it'll screw onto the crisscross bit. So that's great because you can't actually see any of the attachments whatsoever from looking at it from a distance. So those are all the attachments we're going to do, and it's going to hold it together nicely. Now I've finished screwing on all of the brackets to the vertical posts, so it's time to start screwing it to this one. So the next step is to join these two pieces. So this is anchored on very tightly. Now this one is going to sit on top of it like that, and we're just going to put the screws underneath right there. And we're going to repeat for each side. You can take it apart if it's easier while you're screwing it on. Alright, so now we've got our two pieces all finished. Just going to put them together. And fingers crossed they fit. Yes, they do. Alright, that's basically it. Now, as you can tell, because they're just sitting on top of one another, they're not entirely secure. But it's up to you if you want to put maybe a long screw just straight either down the middle or up from the bottom, just to hold these two together. But it should be fine just sitting the pot right on top. Make sure it all fits. Nice. That's basically it. Ooh, bless me. I'm pretty happy with the way that it is standing up. It's pretty secure. All that's left to do is just varnish it. Now you don't have to varnish it. I'm just going to varnish it to match the other wood that I have in my room. So I'm just going to be using this maple satin stain and varnish. It's by the brand British Paints from Bunnings. And I'm just going to do one coat because I think that should be enough. But yeah, it's entirely up to you what you do with it. You can paint it a colour, you can make it rainbow. Definitely up to you, whatever suits you. So I'm going to go ahead and varnish it now, and then I will show you some clips of what it looks like all finished. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. Give it a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see lots more DIYs. I've got lots of ideas. They're all coming your way.